Hey, I'm MJ, and I'm so happy to be here with you. Have you ever heard of others refer to being wise when making decisions? Wisdom is so important in many different situations in our lives. I've really experienced the difference that wisdom can make when making important decisions. Two people that I often turn to when making those important decisions are my parents. They help me figure out what I'm good at, what gifts God's given me, and how God can use me in whatever decision that I'm making. Let's watch today's God story to see how God gives us wisdom when we ask for it.
What happens when a frog's car breaks down? It gets towed away. Hi everyone, it's Jen. I am so excited to be with you today. I want to share a story about a time when I got some really good advice from my husband Jordan, but I chose not to listen to it. See, we were hanging out one night at home and I had a little bit of a tickle in my throat, and Jordan said, "You know, Jen, you should really go to bed early so you don't get sick." And I'm like, I know, but this TV show is really good and I just want to watch another episode or 4. And so I ended up going to bed way later than I should have, and wouldn't you know it, I woke up the next day with a head cold. I was so mad at myself, and I suffered the consequence of not listening to my husband's advice. In today's God story, we're going to learn about wisdom and where to find it. In fact, today's big idea is God gives us wisdom when we ask for it. You may be curious about what wisdom is and why we need it. But first, I want to talk about where we are in the Bible, God's story. We're in the Old Testament in the book of Proverbs, which is right after the book of Psalms. The book of Proverbs was written by Solomon, which is King David's son. Solomon was once told by God that he could have anything he wanted. And guess what Solomon asked God for? He asked for wisdom. If you're still asking yourself, what is wisdom? Well, wisdom is knowing what to do with the knowledge that you have. So you might know lots of smart things, but if you don't know what to do with that information, then what good is that? That's not very wise, is it? Proverbs are meant to help us understand everyday life and teach us how to act in certain situations. They are in the Bible to help us live wisely and help to know what is true, right, and honest. Now let's jump right into Proverbs 1. After King Solomon explains the purpose of the book, he says this: "If you really want to gain knowledge, you must begin by having respect for the Lord, but foolish people hate wisdom and instruction." King Solomon is telling us that if we want to be wise, we have to start by respecting God. And that is something foolish people won't do, which is why they are foolish and won't receive wisdom. Then King Solomon goes on to give us a warning against a life of bad decisions. "My son, listen to your father's advice. Don't run away from your mother's teaching. What they teach you will be like a beautiful crown on your head. It will be like a chain to decorate your neck." It sounds like in order to think and live wisely, we need to listen to our parents, which is not always easy, but it sounds like really good advice. Then Solomon gives more good advice. He says, "My son, if sinful men tempt you, don't give in to them." Solomon goes on to tell us that there are people that might want you to go along with them and do something that's not right, but we shouldn't go along with them, and we shouldn't even walk the same path as them. Solomon tells us here that greedy and selfish people will all be caught eventually. In the next part of this chapter, King Solomon talks about wisdom as a person, more specifically, a woman. He does this to help us understand his riddles a little better. It says she is calling out in the street and public areas. She says, well, let's just read it. "How long will you rude people enjoy making fun of God and others? How long will you foolish people hate knowledge? Pay attention to my warning. Then I will pour out my thoughts to you. I will make known to you my teachings. But you refuse to listen when I call out to you. No one pays attention when I reach out my hand. You turn away from all my advice, and you do not accept my warning." It sounds like wisdom, the woman, is disappointed in the people who aren't listening to her and are turning away from her teaching. It's kind of like when your parents ask you to do something or not do something, and then you do the opposite thing. It's not that they're angry with you maybe, but it's that they're disappointed. Ugh, that's the worst. This is a warning for us not to turn away from wisdom or from God. Instead, we should hunt for wisdom so we don't follow the wrong path. Now, where can we find wisdom? Great question. I'm so glad you were asking that. The Bible tells us that God gives us wisdom when we ask for it. When we follow Jesus, we have the Holy Spirit in us to help guide us towards wisdom. Wisdom is a very important quality to have as a follower of Jesus. Not everyone is wise, but the Bible tells us that God will give us wisdom if we ask for it. As followers of Jesus, we have the Holy Spirit to help us find the right path and to gain wisdom. If you're not feeling too wise these days, Just look for Jesus and follow his path. Well, friends, it was so great being with you today. I will see you next time.
Quickly turn to the person next to you and discuss the following questions.
Question time. What is the book of the Bible we are talking about? Psalms, Proverbs, Philippians, or Philemon? Proverbs. What does it mean to have wisdom? To be really smart, to know what to do and when to do it, or to have all the knowledge? To know what to do and when to do it.
Game time! Bike bark! How many times can you say the key verse before the time is up? Say it with me. If any of you needs wisdom, you should ask God for it. He will give it to you. God gives freely to everyone and doesn't find fault. James 1, verse 5. Get ready! 3, 2, 1, go!
King Solomon is known for his wisdom, and it's important to note that he says that wisdom starts by respecting God. I'd love to show you this super fun story about my friend Adam, who, even though he didn't specifically mention that he asked God for wisdom, God gave him wisdom through the many different situations and experiences that he had in Malawi. Let's check this out.
So our family is lucky enough to be able to sponsor a child in Malawi through the sponsorship program with World Vision. This is where we give on a monthly basis to help put a child there through school and help cover some of the living expenses in the home. And through all this time of giving, we always thought that we were the ones making that contribution. But little did I know I would be the one to receive so much in the end. So I was nominated to put in an application for the Africa Learning Team Youth Edition. Next thing I knew, I was on my way to Malawi. So my first response was to do some research, read up on Malawi. So in my reading, I realized that soccer was such a big part of their culture there. So being an athlete myself and playing soccer, I figured I'd take some soccer balls and some pumps for the kids there to sort of make that connection, along with some toiletry items that I could share with them there. While I was there, I was actually able to play some soccer with them. And it was a big event. There was actually about 500 people that came out to watch the community versus community game, and they threw me out there. While I was also there, I was able to take part in a day in the life of Malawian youth, where we were able to make some bricks. They taught us how they make bricks there, along with how to build fences, two skills that I now have that I never would have expected. I had the opportunity to meet my sponsor child while I was in Malawi, and after the formal hellos, I was able to walk down the road a little bit to my sponsor child Gaddafi's home, where we entered into their rather small living room, I would say, and we sat down on some bamboo mats on the floor, and we're just able to sort of share together some of our hobbies and interests, and just sort of hang out together for a little while. And I had given them some gifts, some of the things that I had brought earlier, some toothpaste, toothbrushes, and some other toiletries, along with the games I brought. And they were just so grateful for the fact that we were able to A, come, and B, to bring some things along with us. And then the unexpected happened. Next thing I heard was the mother say something to Gaddafi in Chichewa, the native language there, and he got up from the mat and walked into another part of his living room, and next thing you know, he came out holding this chicken in his hands. And the translator says to me, "Adam, do you know how to hold the chicken?" And I was, whoa, what's going on? And Gaddafi sat down beside me and put the chicken in my hands, and they were actually giving the chicken to me. So my immediate response was, how could I possibly take this chicken from them? They get their eggs, they eat it. It's such a high need in their household compared to my absolute no need for this chicken. How could I possibly take something like that away from them? So I realized that just logistically, I really couldn't be able to take this back to Canada because of customs and whatnot. And I guess I kind of used that to sort of politely decline their invitation, but it's really cool what they did in response. So they actually said, okay, we realize that, but we're still going to symbolically say that this is your chicken. So whenever it has eggs, this is going to be Adam's chicken. So Adam's chicken had another chick. And that's just something that's so cool that you couldn't possibly dream up. I had the impression that we were the ones giving. We were giving God's love, we were giving financially. But when I went to Malawi, I discovered something that was so unique and so true. And that is that God's love doesn't have a monetary value. It isn't measured in the dollars and cents, but actually it's measured in your heart. Whether you've been giving something small or something as great as a chicken, something that is your all, that's really what measures it. I can truly say that when I thought I was giving so much, really, I received even that much more.
Question time! What stood out to you from this story? What wise decisions did Adam make that helped him build strong relationships with other people? What examples can you think of where you or someone close to you acted wisely?
Adam had such a cool experience in Malawi. He made bricks and he played soccer with his new friends. What I really loved was how he responded when he was given a chicken as a token of appreciation from Gaddafi. He handled the situation with so much wisdom because he knew that they needed that chicken more than he did. And he also showed that God's love for us can't be measured by dollars or cents, but by what's in our hearts. Let's break into our small groups and talk about what this looks like in our lives.